Welcome to another high-tech podcast, guys. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful day, evening, time, wherever you are.
Place
in your life. I don't know.
Time, event,
place,
thing.
and area.
I'm
planet.
Will. He's Josh. We're back.
We're back for another episode. Guys, we're excited about this one. I think we can say this, another part in our interview series.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're moving forward.
We're moving forward. We're doing things. Interviewing here tonight, Don from MathWhiteBoard. You guys have probably heard us talk at this point. Hopefully, you've listened to the episode where we talk about MathWhiteBoard. If we haven't, stop listening to this one.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Listen to the other episode first, okay? Then come back here and listen to our beautiful voices on this episode, okay?
Because Josh and I like plays. We look at our stats. We like to see that spike going upwards.
This is how we're happy, you know?
Bring us happiness.
Bring us happiness. Anyway, interviewing Don tonight from MathWhiteBoard. Will and I have talked with him before. He was the one who got us onto the tool, as we mentioned. But we're actually getting a chance to talk with him to this episode to hear about how MathWhiteBoard got started, the thought behind all of it. Really excited for you guys to hear this interview. So enough of me talking, because you hear that all the time. Let's get a chance to listen to Don. Hey guys, interviewing Don Carney from Whiteboard today here in High Tech. Super excited about this tool. You've already heard us drone on about how much we like this tool, but I'm super excited to talk to Don today. So Don, hey man, welcome. You mind telling listeners a little bit about yourself?
Josh and Will, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's a pleasure to be part of your high-tech podcast. Again, my name is Don Carney. I happen to be the CEO and one of the co-founders of the company that makes MathWhiteBoard. And I'm here in Boston today, sunny Boston. It's a beautiful day here, late spring. So we're enjoying the weather in late spring in Boston. MathWhiteBoard is a tool, a product that came out of some research work that was done at Brown University. So I did my PhD in computer science at Brown, and the team of founders and the group of folks I work with at MathWhiteBoard, we all did our graduate work in computer science at Brown. And the research came out of a research lab that focused on computer graphics, user interface technology, and educational technology. And that inspired us. The work that we had done at Brown inspired us to, the success of the work inspired us to transition the technology into a tool that actually could be used not only by researchers to explore a pretty cool computer science project, but also to build a tool that could be used by teachers and students of mathematics.
Now, that's actually really interesting to know that it's research based. We're higher education, so almost everything anybody does is touching research at some level. Who had the math bug? You were computer science geeks. You could have done anything. Game security, but math is a really interesting place to land. Who got that started?
Yeah, that's a great question. The group of folks who were working on this. We're working in a research laboratory that focused, as I mentioned, on user interface technology. And at the time, the focus in user interface technology at this research lab was in the area of what's called pen-centric or touch-centric computing. And the idea behind pen-centric and touch-centric computing is that when you're interfacing with a device where your interface is your finger or a stylus, it's a touch screen. We're all familiar with those now. We all have phones with touch screens. Every smartphone that we have has a touch phone. Has a touch screen, and we interface with it using gestures and touching the screen to kind of control what's happening with the applications we're interfacing with. So at the time, while looking at these pen-centric and touch-centric devices, the goal was to look forward. So when you're doing research in a computer science research lab, generally what you're doing is you're looking forward and you're saying, what's going to happen in 5 years? Or what's the world going to look like in 5 or 10 years? And what problems do we have to solve today in order to make that future come to fruition? And the way we looked at the touch devices was, hey, what things can we do with the touch device that we've normally done with other things? So like, for example, a mathematics notebook is an interface. It's a workspace where we interface with a piece of paper with a pencil. Now, that was before touchscreens came along. That was very difficult to model with a computer because our interface to the computer was a keyboard and a mouse. But now that touchscreens became available, we said, well, maybe we can model the piece of paper that we use in the mathematics classroom with the touchscreen. But of course, we have to solve some problems in order to do that. We have to, number one, be able to recognize handwritten mathematics. We have to, if we want to be able to do pretty cool things with that mathematics, maybe we want to connect the mathematics with a computer algebra system so we can do things like computations. And then we may want to connect it with a graphing system so that we can convert our handwritten math notation into other mathematical representations with simple gestures. So the inspiration really, when it comes down to it, was looking at a notebook page from a physics notebook from college and saying, hey, can we make that happen on a computer screen? And can we make the experience better?
Wow. So, I mean, that really is kind of the educational eureka. It's what we all want, people to be asking questions and driving deeper and deeper into the question until they come up with a novel concept, which if anybody's heard the first episode on Math Whiteboard, we want you to know this is novel. This is exciting. Because the things that Don's speaking to there, the gesture strokes and stuff, that just still blows my mind. I don't know how you do it, Don. We're thankful for your magic.
Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest challenges with building a system like ours was coming up with a vocabulary of gestures that's really small. If you've used Math Whiteboard, you've noticed that they're really just a small vocabulary of gestures. There's a scribble erase gesture to erase things. There's a graphing gesture to create graphs. You do a quick swoop from a mathematical expression and a graph is displayed. There's a slider gesture, which creates a slider from a written assignment. And there's a couple of other lesser used gestures. But really, the key in building such what appears to be a simple user interface is coming up with a vocabulary of gestures that's as small as possible.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool.
So there's a little bit of there in the research background that's clearly a bit of why you started Math Whiteboard. But we know, Don, there's the Fluidity Math, and there's something more than just the Math Whiteboard product. So out of the other company and all of your research, what drove you all to start a free web-based product called Math Whiteboard?
That's a great question. So we probably took the opposite approach of many technology companies. We started with a product that we sell. A lot of companies out there will offer their product for free initially, gather a large audience, and then start charging for it or for an upgrade or a premium version of it. We took the opposite approach, where we built a company with a product called Fluid Math. We sell that. That's a subscription-based system, and then a component, a subset of that Fluid Math system or product is a collaborative whiteboard. We call that Math Whiteboard, and we've spun it off as its own product or its own system that's a completely free and barrier-free system. And when I say barrier-free, I mean it has no logins, no passwords, no accounts, no subscriptions. It's just a free website you can go and you can use. And really, one of the things that inspired us to do that was that now, of course, we find ourselves hopefully toward the tail end of a pandemic, but still in the pandemic and still in a situation where across the world, across the globe, distance learning has become the norm. And in some places, it's still required by the local and the federal governments to be taking place. So we wanted to provide a tool that could help mathematics teachers and learners in this challenging environment. And the challenge that math teachers face, of course, in an online environment is that mathematics is very difficult to communicate online. Whether you're doing it synchronously or asynchronously, and especially synchronously, because mathematics is a subject area where you have to both show the mathematics and explain it at the same time. You cannot just show someone show a student mathematics and have them understand it, and you cannot just explain a math problem to a student and have them understand it. You have to see it and hear it at the same time, and that's MathWhiteBoard is the very first, from my belief, is it's the very first collaborative whiteboard designed specifically for mathematics teaching and learning. Sure, there are plenty of collaborative whiteboards out there, but none of them have built in as first class objects the mathematics tools that are necessary for teaching and learning mathematics.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, Don, the thing that I think impressed Will and I about your guys' tool, and we made this joke a couple times, and if you guys listen to the episode where we talk about MathWhiteBoard, we made the joke a couple times there too. We're not normally as impressed when we sit down with somebody to look through a tool, and we were so impressed, I think, with you guys and MathWhiteBoard, because it's so clear that you guys designed that whiteboard with mathematics as the first intention. Because I've used a lot of different whiteboard tools, and we've tried to find solutions before, and that's always comes down to the problem. You can sort of write equations and things on those whiteboards, but they never look quite the same. They're difficult and tough to write, and your guys' tool it's so, I think, seamless in how easy it is to just kind of write those equations out like you would on a board or a piece of paper, with some of the awesome features that you guys have in there, which I don't know about you, but my notebook did not solve my math problems for me. So I love that feature.
I've had the chance, Don, to share this so far only with one other faculty member. It's the end of the semester. We haven't had the space to get into new things with folks, but I have one math faculty member who I was showing this to, and I'll tell you, as I'm trying to do a demonstration where I can do nothing like the mathematics you were performing in front of Josh and I'm showing him some very simple addition and expressions. This is a faculty member from the other side is like, oh, this is what you're doing wrong. You have to draw it this way and think about it this way. And I'm like, see, this is built for and meant for math folks, and you all get it, and it's perfect for you. I love it.
Don, it's great when you've designed it for mathematics so much so that a math teacher has to teach a technologist how to actually use the technology.
Well, that was the goal all along. And an interesting story about our company name. The company name is Fluidity Software, and as I mentioned, the other product we sell is called Fluid Math. The goal for us is always, and has been always, to create a very fluid user interface. So whenever we're doing anything in the interface, we always ask the question, now, is that a fluid thing to do? Because, there's an acronym that used to be used for user interfaces of old. The acronym was WIMP, W-I-M-P, Windows Icons, Menus, and Pointers. And if you recall, if you're using a device or a computer where you don't have a touch screen and you're navigating through lots of different windows and you're clicking on icons and you're going through menus and so forth, that's the kind of old style user interface. So the goal for us was to create a next generation user interface, but at the same time design it very specifically for the task at hand, and that is mathematics. And it was also to make the experience very fluid and very natural, because the natural experience of doing mathematics, and we all know this, that the primary workspace for mathematicians is paper and pencil. We all do it. I even do it sometimes. I'll break out a piece of paper to work out a math problem. So the goal for us is to merge both the primary workspace for mathematics, which is the paper and pencil workspace, with all of these other secondary or complementary workspaces like graphing calculators and computers where we're looking at graphs and tables and diagrams and animations and so forth, and bring it all together into one workspace. Again, allowing the user to move very fluidly between the representations, the mathematical representations, and then kind of hide behind the scenes all the technical stuff. And one of the things I think you'll experience when using MathWhiteBoard is that you don't go to the menus too often. You don't click on buttons too often. Everything you do is within the space itself. There's a very small vocabulary of gestures, as we mentioned earlier. You're writing mathematics, and you're moving really quickly between the representations on the page. You're not spending time looking at menus and using other types of user interface elements to kind of control the system.
Yeah, it's true. The little bit, like Will said, he showed it to faculty. I showed it around our office a little bit because we've been looking for some solutions in this space. And yeah, it's true. You don't have to move around a lot to use the tool and what you guys have built. It's really cool. Now I'm curious, Don. I know that for MathWhiteBoard, you guys have only actually had this part of the tool out for free for a little while now. But tell us a little bit. Have you heard any kind of like feedback, top stories from people who are using it? You know what I mean? Like stuff that they're doing with it that you've been really encouraged by or just really excited about, like hearing how somebody's been using the tool.
Yeah, we have gotten, and frankly, it's a little surprising to me, we've gotten some very, very positive feedback and pretty much only positive feedback, which is really fantastic. And we're super psyched. And as you mentioned, man, is it encouraging. And it sort of inspires us to continue building what we're building. But there's a couple of sort of anecdotal experiences that some of our users have had. The first thing is what I had just mentioned a moment ago about, it's a real-time collaborative workspace that allows in this online environment the communication of mathematics in real time. So, one of the, I think this is kind of a funny story that I hear, and I hear this very often. Teaching online mathematics synchronously has some speed bumps, and we all know that it has speed bumps, and they manifest themselves in different ways. And one of the examples of the speed bumps that I hear often is, during a classroom, an online real-time classroom experience with students, the student will essentially virtually raise a hand and say, "Teacher, I'm having a problem working through, I'm having an issue working through this problem that I'm supposed to be working on right now." And the teacher will say, "Well, what's the problem?" And the student will say, "Well, I can't really explain it. I have to show you." And the teacher will say, "Okay, well, take a picture with your phone and then text it to me or email it to me." And then the student takes a picture and emails it to the teacher or texts it to the teacher. And then the teacher has to bring it up on her screen. And then if the teacher wants to give feedback to the student, has to bring it up in some sort of an editing program to annotate that image that was sent, and then email it back to the student or text it back to the student. Of course, that is extraordinarily inefficient. That's super duper inefficient to have to take a picture of your piece of paper, send it to your teacher, have the teacher populate it in some program, and back and forth. Imagine if you have 20 or 30 students in your class and you're teaching them all in real time and they're all raising their hand. Just that is not a scalable solution. So that is one of the pain points that MathWhiteBoard solves, because now the student, even if the student's working on paper and pencil, can take that picture, take the picture from their phone, drag and drop it right into MathWhiteBoard, share that page synchronously with the student, and the teacher can annotate right on top of it. The second anecdotal experience that I've heard of is with teachers who are teaching students who are either struggling with mathematics or have special needs or learning challenges, that they feel as though the MathWhiteBoard gives the student ownership of what they're doing. The sense that you can see your mathematics live in real time, and you can touch it and you can feel it in the way that you would do it on a piece of paper, but it's done in a virtual environment as well.
Are there any fun or new features that you guys are hoping to get out? I mean, I know you were telling us before the podcast started today that it's Math Whiteboard's fairly new to market, only a couple months old in the free space. So is there something that you're trying to really make sure is the next step for it, or that you're looking forward to launching?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as you mentioned, it is really new to the marketplace. A lot of folks haven't seen it yet, and it's very feature rich. It does a lot. So generally, when I give a demo of Math Whiteboard, the demos usually last between a half hour and 45 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour, sometimes a little longer. But
Yeah.
typically, I do not get the chance to show all of the features. So there's quite, as I mentioned, it's a very rich system. So there are quite a few features that I don't always get to talk about. But I think part of the one of the most fun things I enjoy showing with Math Whiteboard is after the demo is over, and if a teacher has extra time, I always like to talk about some very specific mathematics problems. So, my demos usually kind of go through, I kind of cover the features, and I use examples from mathematics to talk about those features. But really, the cool thing about Math Whiteboard is that it covers, all of the mathematics that you might consider doing in a pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, pre-calc, and much of a calculus course. And it's always fun to dive deep into some math problems, because underneath the hood we have a very, very powerful computer algebra system. So the things that we generally like to add, we add lots of different things in lots of different ways to Math Whiteboard, but some of the most fun things we add are in the area of just more mathematics functionality. So one of the things we recently added was some matrix functionality, the ability to enter. So for the linear algebra folks who might be listening,
it's a huge part of our crowd.
Totally. A very powerful group of people.
The two of our 10 listeners. No,
yeah.
Linear algebra is a really important part of math learning, believe it or not. We've just added some capability to make it such that entering matrix notation is easier. So I know it's kind of a nerdy thing kind of an obscure thing, but when I think of, what are we adding and what are the fun things that are coming in the future, they generally fit into a couple different categories. One is in terms of mathematics functionality, and the other is in terms of just very practical features that we know teachers in general want to be able to leverage. So, for example, when we added the ability to drag and drop PDF files into the Math Whiteboard space, so that you can annotate PDF files, that was a feature that sort of fits into the more general category of functionality that teachers just kind of need. But then within the area of mathematics functionality, we're always trying to extend ourselves in depth and in breadth. So a goal for us is to be able to cover all of K to 12 mathematics and also college mathematics, but then also to cover it deeply. So we want to be able to, be the tool that every math teacher can look at and say, oh, you know what, I want to go explore this problem. Let's go explore it with mathematics, with Math Whiteboard.
Wow. That is really just fantastic to know. And we've had your prior assurance that it's a free product, and that's one of the high-tech podcast slogans. Free is definitely our aesthetic. We like to make sure that folks have access to stuff. So we really not only want to say, thanks to that, but we just generally appreciate people who are being authentic about it. And I do respect that, you need to make a living to support the product, but it's awesome for educators to have access to something so powerful for so so free. Today, folks, we have really appreciated having Don with us. We'll be doing a little bit of a wrap debrief in just a moment, Josh and I, but we want to thank again Don for being with us, and we hope that he has the best of luck with this Math Whiteboard venture, offering that to free out to lots of educators. Thank you again, Don. Appreciate you being with us.
Will and Josh, thank you so much for your time today. It was really great fun and a great pleasure to be on High Tech Podcast.
It's not every day you get to hear directly from the CEO of a company. It's really awesome for Josh and I, just a couple of guys who like to talk about this stuff. We're up to no good. Connecting with folks like Don, who are really out there trying to change something and impact, the world, impact education for good. Really awesome conversation today as we listen to Don and some of what they're trying to do over at Math Whiteboard. It's so cool to know that even some of the research projects I might have been a part of at times, right, could result in something like this.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten into research? You're like, oh, this is just something. It's not going to matter.
But I feel like, see, I have the opposite reaction. My reaction is, oh man, my research projects sucked. Because you know what mine didn't turn into? An interactive math whiteboard that solves your math problems. Turned into like a paper that nobody read.
I mean,
no,
I might have read it to edit it.
Yeah, maybe you did. But see, even there, you didn't read it to enjoy it. You read it to correct all my mistakes. That's but in seriousness, it was really cool that they started with this idea of just making, looking into interface stuff. And I think what I think was just really cool and why I genuinely thoroughly love Math Whiteboard as a tool. They're not paying us anything to be saying these things. Okay. What I genuinely love about their desire in all of this is that I was like, hey, we're looking into user interface stuff. You know what? What's a problem online somewhere that we can solve?
Right.
And they were like, let's make the math world better. And you can hear that through Don's talking. He genuinely wants to make a tool that will make teaching math in a digital environment easier and better, and even transform how you teach math.
And here's kind of us in the fourth wall, right? We prep some questions, we send them over to folks ahead of time so they have a sense of what to expect. That's helpful, etc. But we actually skipped over a question while we were talking about it. I think it's worth coming back to it at this moment to say we thought to ask Don what makes you love your product and company. And I'll be honest, it was worth skipping because I think he got that out in every way he talked about it. He loves math. He loves, the functionalities his product offer. He loves his product. He loves what the impact it has on teaching and educate. You could just hear it in the way he responded to everything, that was what he's there to do. So it wasn't even worth asking him. He got it.
It was, we skipped over the question on purpose, right? Because it oozes out of how he talks about what they're doing. This is not just a thing that they do. This is clearly something that he loves doing. And it's specific to math. And that's yes, I know out of the whatever number of people is listening to us at this point, probably not all of you are crazy about math. But if you know people who are, or an environment to put this tool into, do it. Because I think what's really cool about this tool in a unique way that's different than some of the other tools we've looked at is that they are laser focused on an audience that they want to meet, and it's an audience that needs them in a really important way, and that's this tool, because it's just he's even describing, right? I have never been in a situation I don't teach math, I don't do any of those
I don't
things.
Want to teach math.
We don't know, if you guys listen to our episode about Math Whiteboard, it's very clear Don knows more about math than we do, because we did not talk about some of the math that he did, but I don't have that firsthand experience that Don was talking about of being in a Zoom session with a student and them asking, hey, I have a question about this problem. How do you solve that? I've been in classes where it's done that, where I've been a student, but that is a real struggle that a lot of teachers and stuff went through over this past year.
Yeah.
And so what I really just love about them is that they are trying to provide a tool that I think is doing it successfully, that can help meet that need. And so I want anybody who knows math to know about this tool, because I think it's going to help you. I think their history, I'm always nervous about free tools. Sometimes we love our free tools at High Tech, but I'm always nervous that it's going to not be
doesn't
free.
have to
or
last.
They're trying to pull me in, and I genuinely feel with talking with Don, they just want to provide something to people who need it right now.
And they're getting their
and it's
dollar
cool.
elsewhere. It was nice to hear from him. I don't know of many products like that started paid and have moved into the free space. I really respect that. I think that that's really awesome to see that, because it speaks to the fact that they understand a need, and they understand that they can meet the need. And so why not offer it? If they're able to cover their server costs, their development costs, their, salaries, etc., great, good for them. And also they can offer it for free. Thank you. Like, I think that is just a really, really great space for them. So I'm excited that they're on the market. And hey, this isn't meant to be negative, but I'm excited for how awesome they are and how unique they are. I'd love to see competition. I think that if we could see other folks out on the market trying to accomplish that, right, they're all going to do better, but they won't catch him. They won't catch Don. Even as he was telling us today, he's like, we're already deepening the math. We're building our algorithms. We're going to be stronger than ever.
Because some of the other tools I love, I'm not going to mention my name because I want them to still be my friends. Okay. I love, they're not even on the same league right now. Okay. Yeah. Like, even if they started trying to do competition, they're like, oh, you still can't write 4 + 4 well on their whiteboard. And
then have it do the math for you.
Don's over here like, we're solving complex calculus. Also, we added matrices. I don't even know what the heck those are.
But it's for linear algebra. I know that.
Tool. Yeah, that's what I know. Okay. So and that's why I just I think this is a cool tool. I think, but also just from an educational point, it does what it's supposed to do well, and it's focused on it. So if you need to teach math in some type of online synchronous or asynchronous environment, this tool I think can really help you do that. Whether it's just simply tutoring back and forth with your students, or actually recording videos of you doing math, or literally doing it live in a Zoom session or a video call or whatever you're doing, this tool I think can really help meet that need, as well as just on the board. If you're on the board and you want your board to solve your problems for you, here's your solution. I'm excited about the tool. I think it's cool. So check it out, guys. We obviously have some resources in our previous episode about this. We'll have some stuff here with this episode. But check out MathWhiteBoard. It's cool, easy to remember, don't need to log in. Go test it out. Do what Will and I did, which is basically draw math problems we haven't drawn in forever. To try to
Google a couple.
Yeah, Google a couple. And test it out. It's a cool tool. Really excited about it. Excited about this interview. Wish them the best. Guys. So thank you. Another time trying to harness technology, the very specific technology this time around for that classroom, whether physical or digital, guys. We're just trying to do our best. I appreciate you guys coming along on the journey. So. See ya.
See ya.